Happy Friday.
Good Friday, J-Mac. It's Good Friday.
Is it Good Friday?
Well, yeah, Jesus died on the cross 3 days before Easter. That's the
Yeah.
whole Christian methodology. I don't know if you know about this. You
I do.
sinner going to hell.
No, I just didn't realize it was Friday, I guess.
How do you not know that it's Good Friday? Come
I don't
on.
have any concept of days. It's just all go. Welcome to the Twitch cast. It is
Uh,
April 14th. Tax alarm, everybody.
oh, dear.
Gotta get them done by Monday.
It's not going to be good. I don't know why I'm worried about it. I file an extension every year. Every single year I file, and we do that corporate stuff in September. No, let's see. March is corporate stuff, and you get a 6-month extension. So that's April, May, June, July, August. Yeah. So September we file corporate, and then October we file personal. So
Yep.
I think it's been about 9 years since I filed taxes on time.
Yeah, I'm going on my 3-year streak. So it's
But it's better. I told my accountant it's better. Like they're swamped right now with everybody trying to get all their stuff done by April 15th,
right.
in
Yeah.
our case, like we don't, and this is just the way I run my business, but I don't ever owe money. The way that we work, like our partnership passes through losses and profits to us. So we end up with a good enough loss every year in the business that we don't ever owe any taxes. So there's no hurry for us to get it done. And then my accountant can work on it in like the non-busy season where
Right.
it's not so stressful.
Right. Yeah,
So, but
that would be a tough area to work, I think. There's just so much going on.
yeah, exactly.
All
Yep,
right.
exactly. All right,
So
let's jump into some stuff.
there's lots of stuff going on this week, and we've been meaning to do a Twitch cast for about 3 weeks, and for whatever reason, other meetings or other priorities or travel or whatever's been coming up, but got a lot of good updates today, and so let's kick it off.
Yeah, it's funny because there's another level of consultation that we've started doing with some of these centers that are opening up to kind of get them jump started through the first 3 to 6 months of pain that we all went through. And as we're meeting with them, that I just met yesterday with Dan from Champaign. He drove down, met with me. We had some lunch. We toured the store. They got to see a center in action. And, at one point during the conversation, he's like, I feel like I really know you because I've watched all your videos and, like I've just seen you talk so much. And I'm like, well, that could be a bad thing or a good thing. But I think we take it for granted, these little 1 hour that we spend together. It's not super professional. It's not super organized, but I think that's why people enjoy it. It's real, like this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we're all about. There's no smoke and mirrors. I mean, anybody that watches this, feel free to contact us and come down and visit in Terre Haute, Indiana. If you're close enough and we're traveling, I'd be happy to come visit with you at your location. We're real people.
Yeah,
We're not in a fancy studio. I see, you're in your house today. I usually try to come into the office and do it. No one wants to see my kids running around in the back of a Twitch cast. I'll tell you that right now.
oh, I'm sure my dogs are going to be barking and running around too. I was trying to find the best angle where they wouldn't be running back and forth, but yeah, it's funny. We wear so many hats in the business, and so we're not only doing this Twitch cast, but we're also doing the sales, and we're also doing the support, and we're also doing development. And so when we get somebody that says, hey, I'd like to take a look at ggLeap, and we respond to their emails, and they're like, oh, are you the guy on the Twitch cast? And they get all they get all excited, and it's just funny. But I mean, I think this is also I guess a lesson for businesses that might be watching that, if you want to market, this is a really easy way to market. I mean, we don't have a lot of time, but we do these half hour, sometimes longer videos, and honestly, that's how a lot of people find us.
Yeah, and again, I feel like the one thing that I'm the most proud of and what we've done over 13 years is that not that we're the glue holding everything together, but we're more like the central hub of the spider web of all these different businesses that have started up and come and gone over the years. The best example I have of that is again talking with Dan yesterday, and they were talking about what I said. Are you going to do food? You're going to do food in your store. You're going to get a liquor license, whatever. Nah, we don't really want to do that, but we really want to do really good coffee. And so in my mind, immediately it made me think of Nick down at Glitch in Texas. I mean, they went to a coffee school for 3 days, and one of their things that they're doing is they're going to have a little coffee lounge inside of their center. And I said, hey, I don't know anything about it, but let me get you in contact with Nick. I'm sure they'll. Nick and his wife are starting up just like Dan and his wife are starting. I mean, it's very similar. Like, let me connect you with them because I'm not a coffee guy. Nick claims I'll never drink gas station coffee again if I come have a coffee that he makes now that he knows how to do it right. So I welcome that challenge because I'm also very cheap. So, a gas station coffee where I buy 5 for $1 and get one free is pretty exciting for me when I'm jumping in the truck and driving to Indianapolis. But that's what I feel like we're doing with this, is that in the end, we're connecting all of these dots for a lot of people. And hopefully we can bring, and again, talking about financing and how do we get good deals from publishers, and just hoping all this kind of rolls into this one kind of, and it's not even an entity, it's really a community. So this community can represent ourselves with somebody like Alienware and say, listen, our group is going to buy $500,000 from you this year in product. And if we buy $500,000 in product, we want a 15% kickback. So give us $75,000 that we can use for prize money to run ggCircuit tournaments all summer, all winter, all fall, whatever. Those are the deals we can go get if we all work together as a big group. So anyway, I'm excited about it. We need to do this, even if we're not. It just seemed like today, it's one of those days I came into the office just to get this done on Good Friday. It just worked out. We have to hold each other accountable. It's like going to the gym, make each other do this, J-Mac. You and I, we have to force ourselves to do this.
Yep.
Okay. I don't really have a lot today to talk about. I'm just going to share some of my stories on my trips over the last couple of weeks is what I plan on doing. But I did want to touch on just a real quick fact that came up yesterday while we were eating lunch with Dan and Vanetta, I think is his wife's name. I'm going to get it wrong until I see it spelled out. But one of the things they brought up is working with us is they were excited about, how it's going to keep them from kind of hitting these walls where they're doing something and as a big project comes up or whatever, and they can rely on us. And we can help them with a lot of that. But one of the things that I told them, as I said, you've got to go into this business. Any small business owner has got to know you're going to run into issues at some point where you reach a wall. And you've got to decide if you're going to go around the wall, if you're going to go over the wall, you're going to dig under the wall. And some people just turn around and retreat and give up. I had one of those situations this past couple of weeks as we're closing down the Indianapolis store. I just was really, really dreading coming over and cleaning that store out. And not maybe part of it was like an emotional thing, but I just knew how much work it was going to be. Like there's nobody out there I could have called that would have been like, here's some great ideas on how to close your store down and make it less work. It was just one of those things that it's like when we go to conventions, you can try to make it as easy as possible, but you know what? It is a lot of work. I mean, it is sweat and tears and long days. And one of our guys, Maruku, wore compression shorts underneath his shorts because he was worried about, like, if he was bending over, he didn't want to give us a show. And so by the end of the day, his compression shorts had worn him raw in the crotchetal region. And, like, it was one of those things like, he's waddling around like he just got off a horse, and we'd all worked so hard all day. And it was just one of those fun moments where it's like, in the end, if you do the hard work and you get it done, it will be worth it. It's not as bad as you think it's going to be. All of us have had those days. All of us have had those projects. And, some people hit those and they run away from them. So a lot of people will ask me, how did you get into the convention stuff? Going out and setting up for these conventions and building esports rooms. And I'm like, we just did it. Like my guys that work here, they're always yelling at me because they're like, you just say yes to everything. But then in the end, we figure out how to do it. And a lot of times these things have turned into really big deals for us. So, if somebody came in today and said, dude, we want to buy out or take over your Gen Con contract, obviously if the price is right, I'd sell it to them. But at the same time, I don't think a lot of people would know what has to happen to make that actually take place.
Right.
Like there's not like, lines of contractors that we're paying to go do all this work for us. I mean, we're doing all this work ourselves. We're renting the trucks and we're loading the trucks and we're moving the equipment and we're setting up the equipment. And granted, we're smart and we've done it so many years. We know how to streamline it, but that doesn't keep us from doing all the work.
Yeah. I think we're really bad at keeping the knowledge in our head versus
right.
typing it out, because I look at the camp program that's being taken over, and I also look at just general ggLeap, ggCircuit stuff that we just take for granted that's in our head. And when we get an email that says, hey, do you guys have an installation manual? I'm like, that'd be a good idea. And we have that, but it's like, a bunch of versions ago. So we need to just take the time to write out our knowledge, because we'd have novels and novels of stuff, which is part of the reason why we do this.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about my last couple weeks. And, this is probably going to be a little bit of a repeat for you on some of these things. I'm under NDA with a lot of it, so I can't say specific names and things, but just part of this process for me was I'll have to be careful how I do this since this is being recorded, but I guess you can edit it out if I accidentally say a name later when you load it to YouTube or whatever. But I really just want to archive this thing so that we've got a record of it down the road, so I can go back and say, remember that week or that weekend or whatever. But it was a whirlwind the last couple weeks for me, because we've been working with a group that for the past 2 years is putting together an esports fund for North America that is gigantic. It is it's going to start off like $100 or $200 million, and at some point they want to grow it to $1 billion fund. In the middle of that process, like they've been working on it forever, they got involved with us. I don't know, like 3 or 4 months ago. They found their way to us. We started talking with them about some of it. They wanted to bring us on board. They've, basically now contracted with me to represent them in these meetings and be the esports expert. And again, everybody talks about, I don't know that there's anybody in any field that can ever consider themselves an expert unless it is something that is a 100-year industry that's been around that nothing changes in. Sure, by year 100, there's probably some people that are experts. In our industry, the things change so fast. I always just tell people, humbly, I know things that don't work. That's it. Like I've done some things that have worked. I've done a lot more things that haven't worked. So, that is my expertise. And the fact that we've been doing it for 13 years doesn't hurt either, as we've done camps and we've done racing simulators and worked with the track and we've worked with NFL alumni and we've worked with these conventions and we've traveled out of the region to these other conventions like we've done in the past. So, we have the expertise in what works and a lot of expertise in what doesn't work. So as we got involved with these guys, it started to become apparent to me. So they've been working on the fund for a couple years, and they're at the point where it's almost closed. And when it's done, we'll be able to announce things and talk about names and what the plans are, and all of that stuff's exciting. But we went out to meet with some of the people that are part of the group that's putting this fund together last weekend in Los Angeles. There is a whole nother half. No, it's not a half. There's a whole small percentage of the world that lives away that doesn't make sense to me. Like things are expensive in California. Things are expensive in Hollywood and in Beverly Hills. Like we were going to these places for these meetings, and any of you that are friends with me on Facebook, I tried to put a couple pictures up from last weekend, but it was crazy. I mean, we're in this boardroom, presenting in this boardroom, and the minimum we had to spend on food that day while we're in the boardroom was $1,600. It's one of those things that like we rented the room for the day. I don't know how much that was, but I just was told by the person that booked the room, like, make sure you order food for lunch because we have to spend $1,600 minimum. If we don't spend it all, they're going to charge us anyway. So we're presenting with all of these people, and a lot of these people, the fun part is, even when we announce who these people are, they're not game companies. Immediately people would be like, oh, I bet it's who, I bet I didn't even know. When we met with them, the guys that I'm working with had to tell me who these people were. And you and I got on and we started Googling them and trying to figure out who they are. And, they're not game companies at all. These people are just literally like really, really big investment funds and companies that have a lot of investment money that want to branch out, and diversify, I guess is a great term, into this industry that they see as being hot. So we started Thursday last week. We met with Blizzard, the director of esports for Overwatch, just to kind of confirm with him. We were working on getting together to do a bigger event with him at our Gen Con show this year. It's timing slow, but we're going to go ahead and reserve Gen Con 2018 to do a big Overwatch event with Blizzard. So we worked on that, playing with him, had lunch. It was great. We were really close to UCI. I wanted to stop by and see Mark and Kathy and Pat and all those people at UCI, but just the timing of our schedule getting everywhere just didn't work. So we had that in our pocket. We went into the meeting then. So Friday we did some dry runs. Friday though, I got invited to go see the new Echo Fox offices. And this was one of the funny, cool things. The press release came out yesterday. About the Rick Fox's new investment fund that he's put together, and he's doing all these other things. But so we got to go tour this. I didn't even know we were getting like the scoop on what's going on, but they have this gigantic new office space. They're moving into Netflix's old office. So Netflix just moved out of this office space. So you can imagine how big it is. I don't know how many employees Netflix has, but this is like where all their executives and everybody used to be, in Beverly Hills. So we got the tour of them moving into this space with their 3 entities. So they have like a production company, which has a really cool event coming out on April 20th, which is only 6 days from now on the CW. Everybody will want to watch that. It's a cool H1Z1 event that they put together. And then, holy crap, was that a car driving by your house?
Yeah.
Wow. It was like a jet engine.
Yeah.
So these guys basically filmed this thing that they're producing and putting on the CW. The CW did some Mortal Kombat stuff a while ago, and this is kind of replacing that as an esports content on the CW. So it'll be interesting to watch that and see what the response is going to be to that. Their production company put that on. And it's going to do a lot of other shows. It's got some stuff planned of like some reality and not reality stuff they're putting together. And I don't know if it's all esports themed or not, but that company's in this space. Echo Fox is moving all their teams and players into this space. So you talk about teams that have gaming houses a lot of times. What they're going to do is they're going to put all these people in this space. So these guys will come to work every day, and they will come to this space, and this is where they will practice and play and strategize and be in the same house with their production company. So they have their shows going on and their live streams and everything that they do well will all be under one roof. And then I had no idea this connection was there, but one of the owners of Echo Fox, and as part of this fund, is also the owner of Twin Galaxies, which is the Guinness World Record keeper for video games. And so I'm sure everybody that knows anything about video games has heard of Twin Galaxies. And so I met the guy. He was just walking through the office, and the guy that was giving us the tour is like, "Hey, this is Jace Hall. He's the owner of Twin Galaxies and one of the partners in this thing." Yeah, and it was not, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you," type of thing. We didn't talk to him for very long. But then we kind of spent some time with their people just talking about what their plans are for the future. So that was a really cool surprise. That wasn't even planned. Like, we happened to be there and threw out some hey, we're in town, and we ended up getting to go over and take place in that thing. So then the next day is when we presented to this group, and the other things that are going on in the room, like, we really can't say who, but we're sitting in this boardroom with all of these people, and we present for a while, but we have the boardroom for the day, and there's all these side deals going on. And I can't say what, because, like, obviously it's all confidential stuff, but I'm just blown away by the fact that I'm sure, and again, I don't know if there's 100 of these type of meetings going on around the world every day, or 1,000 or whatever, but I've never been in one, where there's all these just influential movers and shakers that are making all these side deals. And again, as they're talking about these things, none of them seem to have any continuity with anything else. Like, one of them was, see if I could say this without. So one of the things they're doing, one of the companies is making a new alcoholic beverage. Like, they're coming out with a new, I don't know. Remember, what's Puff Daddy? You don't call him Puff Daddy anymore, but he has like a brand of vodka that he promotes.
P Diddy.
I
I
know.
don't know. Diddy P.
Yes, it's called like.
Diddy.
No, it's not called Diddy. You're so stupid.
I'm just saying there's different
So
names.
this is what they're doing. They're making a new like shipping it in, importing this thing in with fancy bottles, and they're gonna have all these celebrities promoted or whatever. And they're gonna have this new brand of alcohol that they sell, specifically to try. That's like one of these meetings that are going on in this boardroom after our presentation. They're talking about real estate and everything else, and just it's crazy numbers that these people deal with. Like. You and I, like I'm talking with centers about, okay, you need to open a center. It's going to take $200,000-$300,000 somewhere in that range to open a center. Like these people in these meetings would care less about any kind of number like that. Like they want to talk about $10 million, $20 million deals at the minimum. And the bigger the number, the better, because again, they can't do everything all the time. They have to be strategic in the number of deals they do. It's just a whole nother world that we live in. So I'm really hoping we can start talking about this thing within the next 30 days or so. It could be a huge benefit to both centers and ggCircuit, because part of the whole concept that I'm pushing when they brought me on board is, how do you really get involved and create a foothold in the esports industry? I don't want to be tied to any particular game. I want to be game independent. I want to be able to run whatever game's popular at the time, whatever publisher will work with us. And I want to run a multitude of different things. So I want to run events that take place at LAN centers. I want to run events that take place at college and universities. I want to run events that take place at conventions like we do at Gen Con. I want to run events that are like renting out the Staples Center for League of Legends tournaments. Like I want this fun to do all of those things, and I want to tie it all together so that there's some sort of continuity between the guy that can just make it down to his local center and the professionals that are getting flown in to play at this place where people are buying tickets.
Yeah.
And again, I think they see that vision that I have, and I think that they agree with it. I really hope that I just can't. It's hard to wait to talk more about it. But the fun part about all of this is, like, in the middle of everything else that's going on, a buddy of mine that's at PlayStation contacted me and said, hey, they're opening up a new position at PlayStation. It's the vice president of esports. You want me to put your name in the hat? I'm like, why not? Like, I'm not saying yes by putting my name in the hat, but I'm also not saying no. Like, I have no idea what opportunity might be out there. And again, even if I can just go and meet some people as a part of that recruiting process, and maybe even meet if I don't think I would ever take the job. I can't imagine what the scenario would be where I would take it. However, like depending on how much control and the ability to integrate things into the PlayStation system that we could do, I might be very interested in it. But I might also meet somebody that ends up getting hired and is the person in that position, and have a relationship with them so that we can then start working with them and providing services for them at LAN centers and through our software. So, these shows and everything we've done, like it's not for naught. Like everything that we do is building up our resume and is building up our experience and is making connections with the right people. And eventually we just want to be able to utilize that so that everybody from the bottom to the top, benefits from one kind of unified system. So anyway, so that was my trip last week to the West Coast. We have a lot of other stuff going on, and we'll just quickly touch on some ggLeap, ggCircuit stuff. And I just made a couple notes of things that I want to cover, JMac, and then you can obviously jump in with some of the stuff that you want to cover as well. But so we're working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So we fired up the Pioneer program in April, and a lot of people jumped on board. And I think it's such a perfect program because it has two pieces to it. It has the piece where we're giving a lot of discounts, and in the case of the Platinum, we're giving you the ability for lifetime subscriptions with no fees. And in some cases, we've offered territory protection for a small range around each center. Don't ask us if you can have exclusive rights for the United States because you're building out 100 stations. It's not going to happen. But if you're worried about somebody moving in within your little district around you, we can work with you at the Platinum level to do that. So I think there's a lot of benefits is one reason why a lot of people do it. But I also think people are they believe in what we're doing, so it is like, it's not like a charity organization, and by all means, and we've been upfront about that the whole time. I mean, I want this thing to make money someday. Like if we're making money, then we can do things for sinners down the road. I'm not afraid to make money. It was one of my things my dad always talked about as a pastor in the pulpit. Everybody always talks about money is the root of all evil, but the verse is actually the love of money is the root of all evil. There's no problem with being wealthy and rich and making money. In my mind, the more money we make, the more ability we have to do things that are life-changing for these owners in these stores. And that's my vision for this thing down the road. So I think it's not a charity, but it is like a community-built project. They feel like they're a part of it. They know that they're helping. It's very, very obvious that, now we've basically fired up. I think we were hoping to fire up 2 or 3 extra developers. I think we probably have 6 or 7 now that we've fired up, and we're being smart about it. We're not bringing them on staff. We're not hiring them full time. Basically, we've searched out and we've looked for contractors to build each of these modules. We're also very particular about the core and the secret sauce that we have under the hood. So a lot of centers have been like, hey, I've got a dude on staff that can help you program. While we appreciate that, it is not something that we want to release this code out to everybody else, because the one thing that we have going for us is that it's web-based and nobody has access to that. And we don't want that to become, I can tell you from working in all these other regions of the world, like piracy of other cafe management softwares is rampant. I mean, just out of control, rampant. And I feel bad for those companies. At the same time, I'm like, it's up to you. Like, I have no idea how your code got released. Like, I mean, I kind of do, because I know some of them and I know what kind of business practices they have and what kind of people they are. And I could see a rogue employee going off the grid or whatever. But so, what we've done is we've moduled out some of these pieces. So we have a group that is just going to town on point of sale right now. So we've shared a couple of the screenshots for that as teasers. And what we'll do, hopefully, maybe if we've got time next week on a Twitch cast, bring in Ross, and we'll actually go through more pieces of that and point out the parts that we are planning on focusing on that part. We have the new UI updates coming out in the next week or two. Our Unity team is going to town on that. So game launching has always been an issue. Our original box art that kind of scrolls and then you go down and click the launch button, that goes away. Have you seen more of that, JMac, in the last couple of days?
Yeah, Ross sent me a super secret demo, and I took a look at it, and it's much better. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say. The much smoother, scrolling's easier, launching's easier. And each game, if you want more detail about it, you can go in and see more detail. Think of it like when you're clicking on a movie in Netflix to see more detail rather than just playing it. And for those games that we support and will support, in that detail screen, they'll show different stats stuff within the detail screen. I think that's about the big stuff that's being added in the next couple weeks, but then we have the ggCircuit integration on the horizon and that kind of stuff, and we're aiming at next week probably for an initial update to the UI, and then maybe 2 to 3 weeks the ggCircuit integration stuff.
Yeah, and the Unity team's been going back through as well and kind of redoing it so that we want to give the centers, some of them that we're working with, obviously we're going to be able to replace logos with their logo in places like UCI is one of the ones that I know as soon as we can, we want to get them a UCI version that's maybe a little less purple and a little more blue and gold, which is their colors. Replace the ggCircuit logo with the UCI logo. It's not, some people again have asked, like, can you just show us how to skin it and we'll skin it ourselves? It's not that easy. I mean, if you know anybody that builds in Unity, it's not something that is, we're going to, obviously, we don't want to make 5,000 custom skins for people by hand. So we're going to make it as streamlined from our side as we can, but it's not going to be something that we probably release out for other people to just go to town on and make their own skins in that aspect. I also know, that they've done a table structure, because we're big with stats and ggCircuit. That's one of our big things. So we now have like a dynamic table system that will build these leaderboards inside of the UI. So the Unity team doesn't have to get involved every time we have like new stats pages, new games integrated, and all of that stuff. So we don't have to go back and redesign the UI because we have a new game in that has a different column of stats. Like maybe we're featuring an RTS game and we want to track something like armies built or something that we don't track in other games. So we want to add that on the fly. Our team can do that internally now. It's not like we've got to get the Unity team involved on that side. So the other thing is we've got a couple people working on game integration. We've got a couple people working on supporting new login systems. So other than Ross getting the man flu again this week, I know that the BattleNet login stuff was scheduled to roll out this week, but it rolls through Ross's group for testing first, and Ross is laying in bed for a couple of phone calls this week because he's sick. So I do not think they'll roll that out on a Friday. That will roll out, I'm assuming, next Tuesday. They've got Uplay integrations queued up and ready for the week after that. So there's going to be some updates that are rolling out over the next few weeks that are going to be a lot more visible than the stuff we've been working on behind the scenes, which is exciting because that's, you and I doing this when we're working with centers, we're talking with centers every day. It's super important for us to be able to show them. People are visual, like they don't want to hear that we updated this cool table system underneath the hood, or we've worked on the messaging system. The funny thing is that, downtime has been very minimum, but nobody's like calling us up being like, dude, thanks for the no downtime. Like they call us up when it's down,
Right.
So, but if you're a logical thinker, you should say, okay, there's been these issues, and, we talked about in our call this week, like if an issue comes up that we identify and it causes some problems for one center or 4 centers or 5 or 10 or whatever, we don't just go in and temporarily fix it. Like we go in and figure out what the source of the problem is and we fix it for good. Like we don't like there to be problems either. So you and I have talked about this, I don't know, a week or two ago, but ggLeap today versus ggLeap 3 months ago is not as stressful as it was, where, things were kind of like, we're bringing on a lot of centers and we're scaling it up and we weren't sure about it. Like, we've got a lot of that stuff on lockdown now, and it's not sexy to talk about. And there's nothing I can show somebody about, here's our Amazon Web Servers architecture. Here's what we've changed in it. Like sometimes Chris will tell us about it, and I'm kind of like, Chris, you're the smart guy. Your team got it working. I don't need to know like how it works because I don't understand what you're saying to me right now.
Right. But
what I do understand is that no one is pissed because it's down, or they're having issues, or we had a center Monday that was blowing up our support with all these issues. And we're like, what's going on? And they're the only ones. And immediately that should always be our thing. It's like, wait a minute, if it's just one center, and again, digging down into it with our guys, it's like all issues internal to their network. Like they had so many different problems internally of how they were launching games and whether the games were updated and whether they were in the right folders. And like it was a non-ggLeap issue at all. I mean, that's the last time I've had like a 5-alarm fire blown on me, like where the owners are calling me like, you're costing us money and our center's losing money. And I'm like, so immediately we all jump into it. And then again, I haven't gotten a follow-up from them saying, I apologize, it was our fault. But if I'm not hearing anything, then I consider that an apology.
Yeah.
Because I know they're working now.
Right. And I think overall, we talked about this earlier this week, is that we've spent a lot of time making sure that the baseline and making sure that the behind the scenes is working smoothly. And you say, in the last 3 months or whatever, it hasn't been as stressful. Absolutely. Like I feel like I can sleep at night now without worrying about if my phone's going off or not. But I think the next couple of weeks will be really a telltale sign of why we built this baseline to be so important, because it's going to start getting into the user's face, and they're going to start seeing the benefits of our user interface and how it's just completely going to change the perspective, I believe, of our software for both owners and customers.
Yep. And just again, I don't want to say this, but one of the things the guys have been working on, for example, in this integration process, is, for example, like auto linking accounts. So there's not even a place where players need to go link their accounts. So they want it to be where if a player comes to your center and they sit down and they launch League of Legends and they play League of Legends, like we just look at the log files and we look at what their summoner name is and we track their stats for that game automatically. Like they don't have to link in. So a lot of guys, have Smurf accounts or, 3 or 4 accounts they play on. Like legitimately, you log into ggLeap and then you launch League of Legends and start playing. We'll just track whatever summoners logged in at that point for you as part of the ggCircuit system. Like those things, for any of these old school ggCircuit centers that have been with us 3 years, like those things are monumental. They're going to seem like natural, but there's a lot of work that goes into making that happen behind the scenes. And once it's done, everybody may take it for granted, but we remember the uphill battle over the last 3 years of like, go to this website, create an account. Now put in your game center information and verify you own it. Now go to the League of Legends tab and add your summoner name and then go change your rune page and make sure your runes match. And it's going to be awesome. Yep. That's all I got, buddy. I think that's pretty good for today. What else you got? Do you know anything on the horizon that we haven't talked about? Again, I don't want to get people too excited about things that we're working on, but I do want to make sure they understand that there's a lot being worked on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's just tough. We're getting there slowly but surely, but I think it's tough for me to say, hey, I'm working on this, but I don't know what's going to sidetrack me, sometimes, and I have to push it off. But I have been starting to get back into the data, looking around at how I can make new slides and or a new slider. So starting to put some graphic screens together and some data screens together of what would be cool for a center to look at with some of the new stuff that we have. And so I'm hoping within the next couple of months I'll have a new slider that will be maybe more animated, maybe have more videos in it, and also do some cool data that we can control. So hopefully, be on the lookout for that stuff, and I'll be giving updates obviously when I can. The other thing I just said before we got on here is I'm starting to work on some more support videos and stuff. We haven't done any real support videos since like, I don't know, version 0.03 or something like that. So now that we're at 0.330, I'm doing some stuff there as well. So people who are new won't have to rely on us as much, and they can just go look at videos and stuff, and hopefully be self-sufficient. A lot of times when I'm talking to a new center and I'm giving them a demo, I don't hear anything back from them. I'll check in a couple of days, and they're like, yeah, we set it up, we went to town, and here's the only things we're concerned about, or here's features that we don't see, how do we do this type of thing. So it's going good, and I'm looking forward to what's coming.
Yep, it's gonna be a fun summer until I make you start loading trucks for PopCon.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, apologies for the internet connection. I live in hillbilly land, and we'll do this again next week. Edit it and throw it out on YouTube.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks,
right.
J-Mac. Have a good Friday.
Okay.
All right.
Roll the stone away. Bye-bye.
That's all right. Bye.